Yeah.com says Johnson reports for the 7th of May. And well, of course, friends, Romans, country, lend me your ears because we have peace in the world. And the market is reacting to that peace right there. Boom, skyrocketing. And it's been a continuation here because the inside track says we have peace in our time, that the war is over, that there's no more problems, and everything is fantastic. But also, we have inflation that's coming, and the market is discounting for that by increasing the value of the market itself. And that's just generally how that works. So, provided there's no recession, you're going to continue to see this. So, readings still positive. You got a little bit more rising short interest because some people are thinking, well, way too frothy, but they're the ones who are going to be the next push forward. So, magenta's still over yellow. So, all of those things still correspond to continuation, cyan under red. Boom, there it is. It's pretty straightforward. As long as that spread is increasing between green and cyan, your market's going to continue to rise. As soon as it begins to contract, you're going to have fading prices. Now, the degree to which it fades will depend on the contraction. And then obviously you look for the overtake, which becomes what our DOC spread conversation here, where cyan then moves above red and boom, you have that shift where green dips below. And if you don't have a continuation of the red DOC continuing to hold, now in this particular case, red DOC, all the way up here, the 9 level. So pretty extreme, but sustainable. I mean, it can last that long for a while. Plenty of experiences where it does. Uh, Oil fading off of its peak there because it looks like that. The attacks that they've been seeing in the Hormuz, that may just be factions that don't want settlement. And so the rhetoric has been counter to the, could be factions. This is the product of their decentralized setup that certainly makes that evident. And you can see the difference in tone. And you had the energy director of Iran saying that they are at that critical point. The blockade has reached their near capacity levels, in which case, if they have to stop production in any wells, uh, it's a serious problem. They may never start up again. So, yeah, they're reaching that. How many days is it or weeks? That's really the ultimate question, and that's really going to force that resolution. And this is what Trump has been banking on, hoping that it would be sooner rather than later. And who knows? Maybe they just dig pits and dump the oil in pits. I don't know. It's possible. I don't know how ecologically concerned they are, but if they needed to buy time, you theoretically imagine there are ways to do that, but it's still problematic. Super excited though, still from the euro, because again, this is placing the EU on their war footing with Russia, and that's continuing. And you even had the Canadian Prime Minister out there saying how Europe needs to lead the world now as the new stability force. And basically it's your same new world order business, and they're going to control it because they're the only reasonable groups. And letting Iran have nuclear weapons is no big deal, so why have gotten into any of this is beyond them. And it's an argument. Of course, you just have to look at what's happening in the EU countries, and you can say probably not what you want to see in America. From a gold standpoint, it's just the beginning. This is your turnaround. It's your early warning to say that, those inflation numbers aren't going to be pretty because of the amount of time that we've gone with the extended oil prices. You can only absorb it for so long. It's the same thing that happened with the inflation when it came first for the Biden era free money spree of COVID. It takes a while. Companies will absorb it because the last thing they want to do is have to raise prices on consumers, but you reach an inevitability and there's just no other way around it. You can't conceal it. You have to pass it on. We could see Bitcoin suffer a little bit from this, though, and that'll be interesting because that'll be the tell that you have a change. Because if they're no longer collecting fees from shipping, then you're obviously not going to have that same impact on oil. So, and that will certainly impact BTC from that standpoint. So when we look at the 50K, that was all continuation from there. We had that brief moment of a little bit of softness with the magenta, but you still had sign under red and a full reset of the DOC. The DOC is still dipping under the 13 is your little warning there. You need to come back above. And as long as it keeps repeating that setup, you know that basically what you've got there is just short-term buyer reset. And it's just a matter of like, okay, I can attack, dips in price there at that point because it's going to pop. So what we're currently looking at, which is still a plus side move, but it's faded back just a little bit. No real positive extremes to speak of that need to be filled. They were all taken care of in this dip in the later part of the day, and it's left things pretty clean. Despite the dramatic upside overall, you've had plenty of retraces intraday. Uh, Providing good liquidity, and then that just normalizes things in a mean reversion. Now, of course, that's on the 5K. The 50K, you can see it was a little bit less, is more intrabar from that movement, but pretty clean when you have this situation where the MBI weight maintaining itself for the most part under that 10 level, and red over green here. You have magenta pretty much staying above 25. As long as above 25, you're fairly certain that you're going to continue with the upside move. It's that below 25 dip that you tend to get a little more sustained downside move, and particularly when you're already below it, you pivot back down below it. That's when it starts to get really uncomfortable. And you can see, like right here, it started to dip back and forth a few times, and then you had MBI weight leading, and then as soon as it broke down below, that was the cascade lower to the zero. Pretty straightforward from a reading standpoint in that way. So everyone's just going to be on, pins and needles waiting for peace to be finalized, and that's going to determine the trade. And once peace is announced, we could see a little bit of a market flush because you always sell the news. Anyway, have a good one. Anything relevant, I'll put in the team chat. Trade well.